Good morning, everybody. I'm Danny Jenkins, the CEO with ThreatLocker, and I'm joined by Scott Springer, the CEO of Third Wall. So, Scott, thank you for joining me today. Really excited to have you and your team as part of the ThreatLocker team. So, I don't know how many people here were at ITNation last week, but obviously some pretty exciting news that ThreatLocker acquired Third Wall last Thursday evening at like 5:23 p.m. I think.
It was just in time.
Just in time, and we're really pleased to have you as part of the team.
Thank you. We're excited to be here. We've obviously been discussing this. It was a pretty fast process. We've been discussing this for not very long at all, but it just seemed like a great match between two leading high growth companies to combine them and really give both our clients and your clients additional options for making sure that they are well protected under the whole zero trust concept. And so we're all very excited, and all of our teams coming over, and we're really excited about making this all come together quickly.
So I think it's probably worth, because we've got a good group of Third Wall customers on today. We've got a good group of ThreatLocker customers, and I'm not sure everyone knows what the other party does. So maybe if you don't mind starting, just talking about what Third Wall does, what your goal is, and the platforms you work with, and a bit about the Third Wall story.
Sure. So we launched Third Wall. We launched our product a little over 5 years ago, and it's grown very, very quickly since then. And the concept is actually pretty simple. My partner, Rob, we were the founding partners. He has a sysadmin background, and when we started putting our heads together, one of the things we quickly understood is everybody wants to do certain endpoint lockdowns, is what we really started with, that are common sense and really impactful, very powerful to close off lots of vulnerabilities. But there wasn't an easy way to do it. People were using group policy, people were using scripts, and that sort of works, but they're very hard to customize, very hard to make them work in different ways for different clients. Lots of difficulties in making that happen. And we said, let's build an interface and make it easy. And that's what we did. We started with that as Third Wall. And for anybody, be they an MSP or an internal IT shop, we've got this great interface that you just go in and select the policies that work for you or for a given client, all the way down to even the computer level where you can make exceptions. All very simple. Even the low-level technicians can do it, so you don't have your best people trying to customize things like group policy and scripts that are just a nightmare. So it became very popular quickly as people understood the controls. We've added a number of features to it. Some of those most popular, our most popular feature is actually a ransomware protection with honeypot, canary files that is very effective and saved a ton of our clients from ransomware attacks. But people also love some extras like our reports. We have a logon report that we built for compliance purposes, and we get a lot of questions. Do you make us compliant with whatever compliant regulation you're trying to hit? And the answer is we help a lot. We don't cover all the bases, because I think many of you have seen those compliance regulations. They've got 400-page questionnaires and stuff like that. So but we really help in a lot of the important stuff, making you much more compliant. And that's actually a future direction for us, is to continue to make it more compliant while increasing security. But our logon report is required for compliance, and most people don't have a good system to do it. We do. Perhaps the most popular features we have are isolate and annihilate, and you can imagine what they do, and they are part of our emergency action button suite. That when you need those buttons, you really need them, and you need them right now, and there they are, simple, easy to use. So we brought all that to the marketplace and have been very well received.
So just everyone, we've got a Q&A, question and answer. So if you do have questions and you want them to be answered, drop them in the Q&A. We'll try and get through to them all at the bottom. I got a really, really important question that just came up, and I didn't see it until now. So the question was, is Scott Springer secretly Cliff Main from the Better Call show? So, and I don't know if you've heard that before, Scott, but I just pulled up a picture, and if I'm sharing the right screen there, if you can see that, and I definitely see the resemblance. So maybe we can do a poll on that, Gabby, if we believe that he's secretly Cliff Main. So at the end of the end of the call. Did you get that before, Scott, or was that the first time you've heard that?
That's the first time I've heard that. I've been asked if I'm Randy Travis before, the country singer star who I had never heard of till I looked him up, and people kept asking me in the mall. oh, you're Randy Travis. No, no. And I'm trying to remember the actor's name that did that. Ed, somebody or another, that was Cliff Maine. I forget his name now. That was a great show, but nope, not me either.
No. Okay. So we'll have to put a poll. I don't know if we can put a poll at the end now we started, but if we can, let's put a poll to see if people think he's telling the truth or he's secretly a Hollywood actor undercover in Tampa, Florida. There you go. Look at that. We have a poll if he believes you. So, and by the way, everyone thinks you're lying, Scott. Okay. So we do have a question. Is this limited only to ConnectWise or does it work with Autotask as well? So I think, at the moment, this is the ConnectWise Automate plugin, but our goal is, as part of this process, is to make this available to all of ThreatLocker clients and make it part of the ThreatLocker suite. So it will be available in Autotask in the very imminent future. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Scott.
Yeah, that's something that we've had a lot of people, and there's lots of people that switch RMMs over the course of time. There's a lot of good platforms, and we integrated with ConnectWise first, very, very tightly, and that's all we've offered up until recently. But yeah, we're absolutely are working on and have been on providing this functionality because it's so popular. All of our clients who we've lost to other platforms have all said, look, do you work on such and such platform? And we've always had to say no, but we'll be able to start saying yes to that more frequently. So that is coming. We're well underway with that.
So if we, and I'm reading these as I'm saying, if we are clients of both, is there any immediate actions we're going to happen? We have a third wall integration with ConnectWise Automate. If you're currently a client of both of us, there's no immediate actions going to happen. Hopefully pretty soon, if you're used to the cyber hero support. So for those who don't know what our cyber hero support is, ThreatLocker from day one has been insistent on getting 30-second support 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And our goal is to close all tickets during the live tag. It doesn't always happen, but we try. We offer it by live chat. We offer Zoom sessions 24 hours a day. So if you're born on Christmas morning and you want to come in and speak to our cyber heroes, they're here by themselves, pretty lonely. So, but we are here 24/7, 30-second support. So we are going to work on making sure that the support is integrated into both. That's probably our biggest priority. You'll probably see some small things like, oh, where does your invoice come from and things like that. But that's going to happen sooner. In the long term, and when I say long term, I'm not talking 2 years down the road. I'm talking 3 months, 4 months out, hopefully not too much longer, that we try and make these so they're one platform, so you're not having to log out and log in and look at different things. But that's going to happen over the next over the few months. So, keep your eye out for that. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. So someone asked a question about, will it work off other RMMs? Our plan is to keep it with the Automate RMM as it is, also to add it into features of ThreatLocker. That's obviously a time difference. So not all RMMs allow the integration that Automate does in terms of being inside the agent, but it will be a combination of the both. And I think that's from a ThreatLocker client as well.
And to add to that, Danny, we're actually planning on coming out first with a standalone version. So we're moving a lot of stuff to the cloud. Then from there, it'll actually be a fairly easy task to start integrating with other RMMs. But so that'll be the sequence.
Okay, and mostly it seems like the same question's been asked multiple times. Hopefully, I'm not clicking. I've answered. Again, Ninja RMM, it will be available as standalone, and we'll work with that. Same with VSA, and we've got someone that I'm just reading these before I read them out, so I don't sound like a 5-year-old trying to read to their teacher. So yes, so ThreatLocker will continue to sell Third Wall as an independent product. So you don't have to buy the Third Wall, the ThreatLocker product. The way ThreatLocker's platform works, I'm going to go a little bit over what ThreatLocker is and how our platform comes together. But the way we have our agent is we are a platform anyway, and we have multiple components in that platform. Third Wall will be an additional component in that platform that you'll be able to turn on and turn off. Eventually, it will all be one agent. Obviously, there's a lot of work and a lot of integration to be done. We've got to get our development teams working together. Believe it or not, most of our team didn't know this was happening until 8 a.m. on Friday morning. So they're all getting to know each other and work each other. But eventually, the hope is that we become one agent, but you can choose which platform components you want and what features you want in that agent. So you don't have to say, if you don't want elevation, you don't have to take elevation. And Third will be one of those components.
Yeah, so for all of our clients, I say there are a lot of Third Wall clients. I'm recognizing a lot of names of people I talk to off and on. So good to see you all on the call. But yeah, we'll continue to support you as is. Not to worry, we've got a strong product. One of the things that we hope to do is, as we get closer with ThreatLocker in the integration, is we hope that you do take a look at ThreatLocker if you haven't. One of the reasons we agreed to this acquisition is we're excited by the way that the two products complement each other. And if you combine the current ThreatLocker components with ThirdWall capabilities, you've got one hell of a good set of protections. So something for you to consider.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, there's a lot of questions that are you going to stay in with ConnectWise along with ThreatLocker? Yes, we're going to continue our relationship with ConnectWise. That is the hope. Obviously, there's two parties in every relationship, so but that is the hope. We continue our relationship with ConnectWise, with ThreatLocker. The product, we're not going to send you an email tomorrow and say this product's been discontinued, uninstall it. That none of that's going to happen. It's going to continue to work. It's going to continue to work as is, and we're going to continue to support it. We've got to get the ThreatLocker support team trained on it, understanding it. So until then, we also have the Third Wall support team continuing to support it until then.
And there's one, will Third Wall be available with ConnectWise RMM? Yes, again, first standalone and then a pretty light integration that'll actually work quite well. So that's coming. So
and all of the Third Wall components. So got a lot of questions about moving to our other. We're currently moving to another RMM. All of those questions. There's going to be a standalone. You'll be able to run it on the other RMMs. It will be Q1 2023. We have no plans to change anyone's cost on Third Wall. The price isn't going to triple overnight. We have no pricing in place plans on Third Wall. And when we haven't decided when we bring it in as a component of ThreatLocker, how we'll be billing for that, but we're not looking at trying to milk a load of money out of people. This is the Third Wall cost will stay the same, and it will probably be comparable inside ThreatLocker. And I'm literally trying to get through these as fast as I can, guys. I presume this will be any. So the Third Wall customers we're not changing the terms of any agreements for Third Wall customers. If they are month to month, they'll continue to be month to month. ThreatLocker's monthly billing, when we sign up on the ThreatLocker platform right now, you sign up for a year, but we have very long trials. So you get to deploy and test everything before you sign up. It's not like we're saying, hey, sign a contract. We're saying deploy it, test it, use it in a real live environment, and then buy it once you're happy with it. We're not planning on changing the monthly commitment for Third Wall. So, and someone's asked, is ThreatLocker going to be integrated? Would prefer it to be in ThreatLocker and not another agent. Yes, there's going to be a standalone agent, but we're also going to integrate it into our agent, as I think I said that already. I answered that one already. A lot of price changes. Scott, everyone's nervous about the pricing going on. So the impact for ThreatLocker Third Wall subscribers who are not ThreatLocker customers, I mean, and nothing's going to change. You will see, obviously, bills will come from ThreatLocker or the credit card receipt will come from ThreatLocker. That's going to take a bit of time to get the accounting systems integrated. You will have access to our support once our support desk is trained, but we're not changing your current contract, anything like that. We're just going to, it's really just going to take a couple of months to get everything. So our support team is fully trained in ThreatLocker. The Third Wall support team is still there. And everything's going to continue. If you do want to look at ThreatLocker, I'm going to show some demo links at the end. I'm going to talk a little bit about what ThreatLocker does. Obviously, then you have a little bit more options to choose what way you want it to work. But if you're just with Third Wall, you're staying with Third Wall. We're not changing that. Do we have any rough timelines for those not using Automate? Q1 next year it's our biggest priority. How far along is Third Wall version 3? I think it's fair to say even as standalone, Q1 next year is the expectation. Yep. Once integrated with ThreatLocker, will we need RMM integration? Well, so the standalone or the ThreatLocker integration version, you don't need RMM integration. Obviously, ThreatLocker integrates with your RMMs, deploy your agents, make sure you've got replication, but you don't have to have it integrated. Wow, a lot of price questions. Yeah, so Scott, maybe you want to answer this. Will you be staying on a decision-making role?
Yeah, absolutely. Fully committed to helping this work and be fully integrated and keep our clients happy and help expand this to the ThreatLocker clients and beyond that. So, yep, I'm staying around.
Enough to hear. Okay, so we've got someone here who uses ThreatLocker and Third Wall. They say obviously it's a huge transition. They said as an MSP who uses product, I'd rather it become a great organization, not another Kaseya. This is obviously ThreatLocker's first ever acquisition. So, you know, I met Scott for the first time. He says, I've never sold a company before. I said, it's okay. We never bought one before. We're really here to, you know, make this work smooth, and we want this to work. Somebody's asked, will they be able to provide feedback? Absolutely. And ThreatLocker has various different feedback schemes. So we have, you know, you can always provide feedback through your solution engineer, through your account rep in ThreatLocker, but also we have MSP, I'm forgotten the word of them now, advisory boards. So if you are a Third Wall customer, you are an MSP that uses our product, or even not an MSP using our product, reach out to your account manager and ask them about advisory boards. Can you get on those advisory boards? Now, it does require a bit of work because we ask you for opinions on things and that we're going to do, but yeah, we want to make sure this works. So if you are a customer, or even if you're only a Third Wall customer, ask to be on those advisory boards. And what we do is we run things by our advisory board, our thought process. What are we doing? Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? And, you know, sometimes we end up dismissing ideas. Sometimes we end up changing them because of the way people say things work. But definitely you can give feedback. You can give feature feedback. We actually added just a quarter ago features.threatlocker.com that people can request features as well, and request things a little bit more anonymous than having to sit down and go through something. If you go on there and you say, well, only one of the 80 features has been implemented, bear in mind it was only implemented a quarter ago. So it takes us more than a quarter to do a dev cycle. So, but you can do things there as well.
And Ken, to your question about not another Kaseya, I mean, one of the big things here is we had time to really understand each other's cultures between the two companies, and there's a lot of dynamic entrepreneurialism and not bureaucratic. Let's just say there's no ill will. We're all very excited by this, so I think you're going to see this to be a really excellent joint organization.
Okay, so somebody's asked, what does ThreatLocker do? So I think this is probably my chance to give ThreatLocker's elevator pitch, if you like. So for those of you who are on the call who don't use ThreatLocker, we are an endpoint security tool. We focus on what is now referred to as zero trust, but essentially least privilege, allow what you need and block everything else. So if you look at traditional antivirus or EDR, they're looking for threats. They're looking for dynamic changes in your environment that may identify that there's a threat happening. And that could be because it's a known piece of malware. It could be because something's following the pattern of malware. What ThreatLocker does is we say, well, what do you need to run in your environment? Because malware is just software. It's written in the same code as regular software. So we say, what software do you need to run in your environment? And we do that through deploying an agent, learning what software, DLL, script files you need to run. And then what does that software need to do? So we say, oh, well, PowerShell, that needs to run, and that needs to install software as well. It needs to talk to this, it needs to run this script, but it doesn't need to go out to the internet maybe, or maybe it doesn't need to see your files on your network share. So we learn what your applications are needed, what they need to do, and then we essentially block everything else. So we say, okay, this is your learning period. We've learned everything you need. This is what's allowed to run. If someone tries to run something outside of that after you've locked down, it's not allowed to run. Now, that doesn't matter if it's a game somebody downloaded, or if it's a piece of ransomware, or if someone got into your RMM and pushed out ransomware, or whether it's a vulnerability like WannaCry trying to run something. If it's not on the list, it's not allowed to run. And then once something is allowed to run, we control what it does by ring fencing it. So we can say, hey, Microsoft Office, that's on our allow list, but that doesn't need to talk to PowerShell, because a lot of vulnerabilities get triggered by Office or Internet Explorer. You know, in 2019, Internet Explorer had a vulnerability that allowed any website to run PowerShell commands on your computer. But by ring fencing apps and stopping them talk to other apps, we're able to stop springboarding from one app to another. We're able to limit which apps can access your files, which files they can access, whether they can go out to the internet. And with that ring fencing, we've really been able to stop a lot of breaches like the SolarWinds Orion breach, the Exchange vulnerability, the Internet Explorer 2019, Zoom 2020, the last two Office vulnerabilities, the Fleener and the other one, just by ring fencing those apps and controlling what they do. And then with the allow listing, we don't allow anything to run, so malware can't run. We also get into elevation. So if you need to take away admin permissions, you can just check a box and say, hey, QuickBooks Update, it can run as an admin while being ring fenced, so it can't hop to another app. So you don't have to connect to the user's computer every time. We get into storage, file auditing, USB controls, but also controlling which apps can access your storage. If you've got a backup server, only your backup app can access your backup server, and then even network controls on the endpoint. And I'll keep this one quick, but essentially it's an endpoint and server firewall, but it has something really cool. Outside of being centrally managed, you can see all inbound and outbound network traffic across your organization. What it does is it allows you to actually create something called dynamic ACLs. So let's say you've got a server on your network. One of the big challenges we've seen over and over again with ransomware and attacks is, well, we didn't realize we had this machine running. We had a check-in machine that isn't managed by us, and it's on our network, and someone got on that because it had TeamViewer on it, and then they were able to connect to our servers. So what you're able to do is you're able to create dynamic ACLs on the server that says, these are trusted devices. Doesn't matter what their IP address is, it will update the ACL, and we're going to allow this traffic in. And you can do that on the LAN, but you can also do that published on the internet. So had a client this year on just before July 4th weekend, wanted to lock down their Automate service and nobody could see it on the internet. The ports were closed because people are nervous that there was going to be an attack. What we did is we created this dynamic rule that said only his customers can see it. And it tracks over 2,000 agents and it updates the ACLs in real time. So his firewall, it's essentially firewalled off. So a lot of power on your endpoint security and server security. And it works in line with, so if you're using Sentinel-1 and you want to use it in line, it works in line. But also if you decide, hey, I just want to use Windows Defender, I'm using ThreatLocker, it works very well in those environments too. So I recommend, there's a lot to digest, but if you haven't looked at ThreatLocker before, we're going to give some demo links at the end. If you are a Third Wall customer, we do have some discounts that are going to be applied as well if you decide to buy ThreatLocker. So book on that link and check it out. So Scott.
Yeah, there's also a question, a couple of people starting up late, so they missed the overview that I gave. Rather than doing it again, for those of you who are asking, what is Third Wall? You may want to check the link for this recording, but also I think, Danny, we're going to get a link to Third Wall webinar as well, our demo system. So absolutely sign up for that. Third Wall is something that is very complementary to ThreatLocker. So clearly, I think it's Reginald is asked, what is Third Wall? So that might be the best avenue, Reginald, if you can sign up for a webinar and take a look. Virtually everybody who looks at Third Wall uses it, buys it, and uses it. It's that good of a product. So combined with Third Wall and ThreatLocker, great protecting system.
Okay. I'm literally just going through these questions as much as I can. There was a lot more than I kind of opened that can of worms, didn't I? So,
yeah, I see a question from Harry. Hey, Harry. Additional features planned once Third Wall is integrated. Well, the first additional features is, of course, ThreatLocker, but in third, which is an amazing set of added features. But we absolutely have plans for Third Wall to add more and more stuff to Third Wall itself. We've actually been a little slow with that this year because we have focused a lot on making the standalone version, so it will be available to those who are using ConnectWise Automate or ConnectWise RMM or other platforms, and then we'll start integrating into others as well. So all that is coming. But yeah, a lot more opportunities once we get that out to start adding additional features. So we got some pretty big plans there, and our acquisition, our joint efforts with ThreatLocker will only help that.
Okay, and I'm typing some of these answers in as I get through them. Will there be a Third Wall interface? Will there be a Third Wall interface to use with the current Automate web console like there is a desktop interface? So I think the interface will be a separate web page, but there will be there's no Third Wall interface into the web UI of Automate, is there, Scott?
That is correct, and we don't plan on it. We do, however, again with the standalone, it'll work fine. And of course, I think the big push in ConnectWise for web UI is ConnectWise RMM. So I think that's going to be their big web play.
So I think somebody asked what aspect of the functionality drove ThreatLocker to acquire Third Wall the most. So I think the big area for us is we are very much as a company focused on security. So we focused on how do we stop ransomware? How do we stop fileless malware running? And that's what we've done for the last 5 years. And in the last 5 years, we've literally gone from no MSPs to thousands of MSPs with tens of thousands of end businesses using our product and protecting their clients. What we haven't done, and what we've been really bad at, is saying, well, how do we check compliance checkboxes? And ThirdWall has a lot of features which check. As an MSP, you've got two roles. You've got, in my mind, the role that's protect your customer, stop them getting ransomware, stop them getting a cyber breach, and then you've got the role of compliance. Now, both of our products help you stop ransomware and stop threats. And in some respect, ThreatLocker it does check a lot of compliance checkboxes, but it also misses a lot. And there's some very basic compliance checkboxes well, I say basic, it's very simple compliance checkboxes that ThirdWall just says, okay, we're addressing this for you. And our goal is to enhance on that and make this really alignment with HIPAA, with NIST, with CIS control. So you can go in there and say, okay, NIST, and it will, the plan is, this says NIST requires this. If I turn on this policy, it satisfies that requirement. So I think that's the biggest drive, but also, the team in ThirdWall is great. The customer base, I mean, the huge customer base in ThirdWall. There's a lot of other reasons that this makes a good synergy relationship. And, I was very surprised to see that while we both sell to ConnectWise customers, we only have a 15% overlap on customers. Which I guess is representative of who's heard of us, who knows us. And but it was very interesting. So I think the big thing though is, how do we make a more complete MSP security solution? Because security has two sides: stopping bad stuff and making people compliant. And compliance it's not the target, because the best slide I ever saw, I don't know if you've ever seen this in a slideshow, was someone did a slideshow and had a guy wearing on a motorcycle wearing a helmet, completely naked. And it said this guy's compliant. But the point being is we've got to get that compliance as well. So I think for us, the compliance part of this is really exciting. And as we build that and enhance that, it's going to become even more relevant to compliance.
So I went from Matt, will you be able to migrate from the ConnectWise Automate integrated version to the standalone version? Yes, absolutely, if you'd like to. In fact, at some point, we'll probably encourage that, because it'll just give you more flexibility, give us more flexibility. It's a better product. And that's because we're re-architecting it. So yeah, absolutely, there'll be a pathway to do that if you so desire.
Okay, somebody asked, and we might as well address the issue, because I probably got asked this, and I didn't help by joking about it on stage. But how long before we get acquired by Kaseya? We are not getting acquired by Kaseya, and I know it's the biggest rumor out there. We work with a lot of Kaseya customers. We have a very large booth at Kaseya's trade shows. We do it ConnectWise too. Well, I say we do it Datto too, but that's now being acquired by Kaseya. We also do every other trade show, Enable, and everything else. So we have no intention. We're not engaging in any conversations that and do not intend to be acquired by Kaseya at all. My goal my vision of ThreatLocker has always been to change the dynamic of endpoint security and to become the leader in endpoint security, because we have to stop looking at endpoint security as a threat detection. Let's use some magic black box that tells us what's bad. We have to change that dynamic to doing tangible things, allowing what we need. So being acquired by an RMM isn't in line with my business vision, and hasn't been since we started. So we have no intention of, and I know nobody, the amount of people that asked, are we owned by Kaseya at ITNation? If we were, by the way, I wouldn't be able to say we're not. I'd probably give you an answer like, we don't comment on rumors. But we are not owned by Kaseya, and we have no intention of being. So somebody's asked, how do we handle support requests? As of now, if you're looking for ThirdWall support, please email ThirdWall as you have in the past, because I'm assuming that's how your support works. Is it, Scott?
Email or on our website where you can submit a form. Yep.
Yeah, we will be training our cyber heroes on it, but we have 50 or 60 cyber heroes now, so it takes us a bit of time to get them all up to spec on the product. So if you're looking for ThreatLocker support, continue to use ThreatLocker cyber heroes. If you're looking for ThirdWall support, continue to use email. You'll get notified. We will send emails out saying you can now get ThirdWall support from ThreatLocker as soon as everyone's up to spec and trained. Nothing's changed in the immediate function. So somebody's asked us, and I don't know if we have time to do this or not, but we're going to set up two demos after. So I'm going to put two links because someone's asked us to do a demo of how Third Wall and how ThreatLocker works. We obviously have a limitation on time here. I do recommend you sit through a demo. So we're going to put two links up to schedule demos on those after the fact, and Gabby will have them ready for us just before we finish up.
Yeah, I think we've had, I'm sitting here watching them roll in. I get notified every time we get somebody sign up for a Third Wall webinar, excuse me, which is how we do our demos. We do multiple people at a time. And I think we've had 30 signups since the call started. So some people are finding that link, which is good. Thank you, everybody.
Also, you're putting, you've got a public webinar, do you? Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's how we do our demos. There's a couple of questions, Danny, about what additional compliance will happen with Third Wall, and with an extension of that to ThreatLocker. We have started mapping out some of the things we can do to get full CIS compliance, and that's pretty ambitious. Don't know how far we'll get with that, and of course, turning on full CIS, you turn that with one button, which we could enable. But at that point, you'd get a lot of screaming. So that's not necessarily the right thing. But we're going to keep adding more and more to try it with the goal of getting, so you've got a ton of compliance to the various, there are dozens of compliance regulations now across the world, but we'll keep adding more and more. And a motorcycle helmet.
Oh, so yes, and my motorcycle helmet included. And I'm going through there. So will Third Wall support the GDPR standard contractual clauses like ThreatLocker? I don't see why it wouldn't, but I don't know if you have BAAs and everything in place already, Scott, or...
Sorry, I was actually reading two more questions. And what was your question there?
So BAAs is actually, DPAs. Will Third Wall support the GDPR standard contractual clause like ThreatLocker does? Have you done much stuff on GDPR yet?
We haven't actually, as a small company, we haven't advertised compliance for any of the standards, GDPR or Essential 8 or anything else. What we do is try and respond as quickly as possible to requests for additional compliance help. So, I think we'll have a better chance now that we're part of ThreatLocker to map out what we help with compliance, including in GDPR. And that'll be part of our goal going forward. And
I think there's two parts to it. One is how does the product help you use GDPR? And obviously, when you're using security products, there's various benefits to checking off GDPR requirements. And GDPR is one of those complicated compliance laws. It's a little bit like HIPAA. It doesn't really say much, but it basically says if you leak any data, you're in a serious amount of trouble, and you can get fined a lot. And then it often defers to various other standards to say, well, what are your requirements for protecting data? So there's various components in Third Wall that protect from data, and then the other part of it is the compliance. Is it stored? Is confidential data stored inside the EU? Do you have a DPA in place? All of those type of things. So I think as Third Wall comes into ThreatLocker, all of those legal documents, the DPAs and the local data and things like that will be available inside Third Wall. And I think a lot of the stuff right now, it's based on your server. So if your server's where your server is, it's actually an agreement you'd put between you and your customer, because Third Wall isn't really, there's a little bit of cloud to it, but it isn't really a cloud product right now, is it, Scott? It's more built onto their RMM server.
It is, yes.
Somebody's asked about overlapping features. There's some very light overlap around storage, because the Third Wall has a feature that allows you to turn off USB drives and Windows. Obviously, ThreatLocker has the ability to control storage. So there is a little bit of overlap, but it's actually pretty light in general. I think, guys, there's two links in the chat there. I don't know if everyone can see the chat. One is to schedule a Third Wall demo. One is to schedule a ThreatLocker demo. Please, sign up to join the Third Wall webinar and to schedule a ThreatLocker demo. ThreatLocker, obviously, if you're already a ThreatLocker client, knows we do things slightly different. Our products, we do a white glove onboarding. And that starts with a demo. We'll do a demo. We'll show you the product. If you like the product, we'll do a free trial. We'll help you onboard it. And we'll do weekly calls with you to make sure you know exactly, simulate what would be blocked before you lock down. So, the third wall is going to be more of a webinar. You can turn it on if you're using Automate. As it integrates into ThreatLocker, it'll become part of our demo as well. As a standalone product, that will change. But, book a webinar, schedule yourself on the webinar with Third Wall, schedule yourself on a demo with ThreatLocker, and come and see how it all works and fits together. So I think, is there anything, Scott, you wanted to?
There's a lot of questions there of what is Third Wall. I think some people joined a little late. Again, the best way to do that is sign up for the webinar. But in essence, we help by helping you lock down critical protocols, lock down certain end user things that they can't do. And really, in those regards, we replace both group policy and scripts, and we do it much better than they do, with adding lightweight continuous monitors, things like that. There's a whole bunch of things that we do. Again, kind of late in this process to do a full demo, but I think once you see it, you'll understand how valuable it is.
So somebody asked a question about pushing ThreatLocker hard for one of our customers. If we achieve true zero trust, why do we need EDR such as SentinelOne or CrowdStrike? So the answer is that there's two parts to security. One is detection and one is prevention, controls. ThreatLocker is a control. I would say half of our customers do not use an EDR or like SentinelOne with ThreatLocker. The other half do. There isn't a right or wrong answer to that. An EDR is essentially like saying, well, I've got a house alarm in my house, even though my doors are made of steel and I've got bolts on them. So it's important having some kind of detection. We use Windows Defender with ThreatLocker in-house. We have banks who use Windows Defender and ThreatLocker in-house. We have a lot of MSPs. There's a lot of MSPs that are probably willing to talk to you about their experience. If you achieve true zero trust, if you think about how an EDR works, a file opens, it says, is this file known to be bad? And it has this gray area. So is it known to be bad? If so, I'm going to block it. But it's not known to be bad, I'm going to send some kind of alert and maybe take post infection remediation. Whereas the way ThreatLocker works is we say exactly the same driver really, but when the file opens, is it on our list of trusted programs? Is this hash trusted? If so, allow it to run. And we take care of all the updates, so you don't have to worry about updates being blocked and things like that. So there isn't a right or wrong answer, but it's quite often, and like I said, SentinelOne is very CrowdStrike. Both of those products are used alongside ThreatLocker all the time. We also display SentinelOne more than anything else, and it's the most used product with ThreatLocker. So there isn't a right or wrong answer on how to answer that. The reason we displace is more to do with cost and system resources. Especially with 7.6, we use a lot less system resources. We're down, actually ends up being over 80% down on system resources. That's a lot lighter than an EDR. So I think, there's a lot of questions. We unfortunately, we can't get through to all of them. I think we've answered the spirit of most of them, but we've gone through as quick as we can. I'm really excited to have Scott and his team on board. There's going to be a lot more changes. Suggest booking a demo. We probably will schedule some webinars coming up for full product webinars. I know you've already got your Third Wall one that they're coming through, and also the ThreatLocker one is in the link there as well. So please schedule a webinar and join us for a demo or webinar with ThreatLocker or with Third Wall. Well, Scott, I appreciate you joining us today, and thank you very much.